Houston, Texas, 2001. The glittering towers of Enron stood tall, symbols of American innovation and corporate genius. At the top sat Jeffrey Skilling, a man once hailed as a visionary who transformed a sleepy energy company into a Wall Street darling. To investors, he was the architect of a new economy. To employees, he was the captain of a ship destined for greatness. But behind the skyscraper glass, behind the glowing numbers and relentless optimism, a storm was brewing. Enron wasn't a miracle, was a mirage. And when the illusion shattered, it left behind one of the greatest corporate disasters in history. Billions vanished, retirement dreams were destroyed, and trust in Wall Street was shaken to its core. At the center of it all was Jeffrey Skilling, the brilliant, ruthless CEO whose ambition blinded him to everything but power. This is the story of the Enron collapse, a story of greed, deception, and the devastating cost of unchecked ambition. Jeffrey Keith Skilling was born in 1953 in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. His father, a valve salesman, and his mother raised him in a middle-class household. From a young age, Jeff showed signs of brilliance. Teachers described him as sharp, competitive, and unrelenting in his drive to succeed. After studying applied science at Southern Methodist University, Skilling earned an MBA from Harvard Business School in 1979. At Harvard, he was known for his razor-sharp intellect and his fascination with risk-taking models. One professor later recalled, Jeff believed deeply that markets rewarded innovation no matter the cost. That belief, that the ends justified the means, would guide Skilling throughout his career. After working at McKinsey & Company, the prestigious consulting firm, Skilling was introduced to Enron, a struggling natural gas pipeline company based in Houston. In 1990, Enron brought him on board to help transform its business model. Skilling's vision was radical, and it would change everything. Enron, founded in 1985, was originally just another energy company. But Skilling believed it could be more. He pitched the idea of turning Enron into an energy trading powerhouse, where contracts for natural gas and electricity could be bought and sold like stocks. The idea was revolutionary. Instead of simply transporting energy, Enron could control the market for it. Investors loved the vision, and Skilling's charisma sold it well. Soon, Enron transformed into a financial juggernaut. Revenues skyrocketed. Analysts praised Skilling as a genius. The company branded itself not just as an energy provider but as the most innovative company in the world. But innovation soon blurred into illusion. Inside Enron, Skilling fostered a culture of extreme competitiveness. Employees were ranked annually on a brutal system known as rank and yank. The bottom 15% were fired each year no matter what. Fear and ambition drove employees to hit impossible targets, and if they couldn't do it honestly, they found creative ways to make the numbers work. Enron became infamous for its arrogance. Executives flew corporate jets to Las Vegas for parties, gambled millions, and bragged about their brilliance. Skilling, known for his intensity, often pushed staff beyond their limits. He reportedly told one employee, "You must be the smartest guys in the room." The phrase became synonymous with Enron's hubris, and later the title of a documentary exposing its fraud. While Wall Street cheered, Enron's success was built on sand. At the heart of Enron's fraud was an accounting trick called mark-to-market accounting. Skilling championed the method, which allowed Enron to record future profits as if they were already earned. For example, if Enron signed a 20-year contract worth billions, it could immediately count the entire deal as revenue, even if the money wouldn't materialize for decades, if ever. On paper, Enron's profits exploded. In reality, cash wasn't flowing in. But investors couldn't see that. They saw numbers climbing sky high and assumed Enron was unstoppable. To cover up losses, Enron also created hundreds of off-the-books companies, special purpose entities, where debts were hidden. These shell companies with names like LJM and Raptors kept Enron's balance sheet looking clean while billions in debt piled up in the shadows. Wall Street analysts, seduced by Enron's rising stock price, asked few questions. Skilling's charisma and Enron's aura of innovation silenced doubts. Even Fortune magazine named Enron America's most innovative company 6 years in a row. Behind the curtain, though, the fraud was metastasizing. While Skilling and his executives grew rich, ordinary employees and investors unknowingly carried the risk. Thousands of Enron workers invested their retirement savings into company stock, encouraged by management's constant reassurances. Their pensions were tied to Enron's fate. Investors, too, were dazzled. From Wall Street hedge funds to small-town retirees, people poured money into Enron, believing it was the future of energy. But the empire was rotten at its core. And when the cracks began to show, it was these ordinary people who would pay the price. In early 2001, troubling signs began to emerge. Analysts started asking questions about Enron's opaque financial statements. Some wondered how a company could show billions in revenue without generating equivalent cash flow. Jeff Skilling, however, dismissed critics with arrogance. When one analyst asked why Enron refused to provide a balance sheet during a conference call, Skilling snapped, "Well, thank you very much. We appreciate it. Asshole." The remark shocked Wall Street but also revealed Skilling's growing desperation. Behind the scenes, debt was mounting. The off-the-books entities could no longer hide the losses. Enron was bleeding and the world was about to find out. In August 2001, Jeffrey Skilling abruptly resigned as CEO, citing personal reasons. The move stunned investors. Just months earlier, he had confidently declared Enron's future was bright. His sudden departure sparked panic. By October, Enron announced massive losses tied to its off-the-books entities. The stock, once trading at over $90 a share, began to collapse. Employees watched their life savings evaporate as retirement accounts, locked into Enron stock, became worthless. By December 2001, Enron filed for bankruptcy, the largest in U.S. history at the time. Over 20,000 employees lost their jobs. Investors lost over $60 billion. Lives were shattered. And at the center of it all was Jeffrey Skilling. In the aftermath, investigators descended on Enron. The fraud was breathtaking in scope. Millions of documents were examined, and executives were hauled before Congress. The American public, furious at the betrayal, demanded accountability. In 2004, Jeffrey Skilling was indicted on 35 counts of fraud, insider trading, and conspiracy. The trial that followed was one of the most watched in corporate history. Former Enron employees testified about the pressure to manipulate numbers. Prosecutors laid out how billions in debt were hidden. The smartest guys in the room were exposed as fraudsters. In May 2006, Skilling was convicted on 19 counts. He was sentenced to 24 years in prison, later reduced to 14. His once brilliant career ended in disgrace. Behind the headlines, the human cost of Enron was devastating. Employees lost pensions they had spent decades building. Retirees were forced back to work. Families who trusted Enron's promises faced financial ruin. One former employee described the despair. We were told to believe, to invest, to be loyal. And in the end, they stole everything from us. The scandal also shook public faith in corporate America. If Enron, the darling of Wall Street, was a fraud, what other companies were hiding lies? The collapse of Enron led to sweeping reforms. In 2002, Congress passed the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, tightening regulations on corporate accounting and executive accountability. It was a direct response to Enron's abuses. But Jeffrey Skilling's legacy remains dark. To some, he was a brilliant strategist undone by hubris. To others, he was a conman who gambled with people's lives. What is certain is this: Skilling engineered one of the most destructive frauds in history. Enron was not just a corporate scandal. It was a human tragedy. And it serves as a cautionary tale of what happens when greed, arrogance, and unchecked ambition collide. Jeffrey Skilling once dreamed of remaking the energy world. Instead, he became the face of one of its greatest crimes. His story is not just about one man's fall from grace, but about a system that rewarded deception until it devoured itself. Enron's towers in Houston once touched the sky. Today, they stand as monuments to greed's destructive power. And at the center of it all, forever tied to the wreckage, is Jeffrey Skilling, the CEO who helped destroy thousands of lives.